Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Motive here. I wanted to make a more positive video for today, but this needs to be addressed. Everyone needs to be aware of this. As many people as possible. I know I'm still a small YouTuber in that regard, but I'm sure this will strike a nerve with anyone who is remotely a gamer or has any understanding of what's going on. So it's obviously known that Nintendo gets lawsuit happy, and this has been no exception for the longest time. And the one of the biggest victims right now is a small studio called Pocket Pair, the creators of Palworld. Palworld is the closest thing to a proper Pokemon clone that isn't a direct ripoff, has its own unique interpretations, adds a lot of features that we wanted in Pokemon games for many, many years, including 3D world exploration, building, utility for Pokemon. You know, Pokemon help build things for you. They help water plants. They do all the things that we see in the Pokemon anime that, you know, occurs. But yet they never implement it because they were never incentivized to. Nintendo makes so much money from it that they're not incentivized to improve upon the franchise, even though it's been stagnant for 10 plus years now. There's nothing wrong with keeping the formulas the same because, Monster Hunter's been exactly the same for a long time. People still enjoy that. It's when they get too complacent in their own genre and not only charge more for the games and actually have the balls to charge for DLC, but not add anything meaningful to it. Like, there are good things still in the Pokemon games, sure. But is it really worth the unoptimized game, the lack of a decent story, the lack of likable characters, and, the fact that we cannot capture all the Pokemon in some of the most recent games? Why is that? We have the storage, we have the technology to implement all the Pokemon into a single game. See, if you want to charge more money for a game, but still not allow people to capture all the Pokemon, that nerfed availability and the fact that you cannot purchase some of the older Pokemon games through an eShop or an online shop or what have you, even play on a modern system. You literally have to buy vintage consoles at this point to play all the Pokemon games and capture all the Pokemon. And somehow, even though we have like the online Pokemon Bank and everything, we still can't import them into all the modern games. And don't even get me started on Pokemon Go. That is not a legit Pokemon game. It's a lazy interpretation of one. Yeah, there's some good in it because it makes people like, go out and exercise and stuff. The catching mechanics are ridiculous. They're kind of pay to win, and so is the battling. But then again, it's a mobile game, so why is anybody surprised there? But my frustration is with the most recent events regarding Nintendo and Pocket Pair / Palworld. I'm going to throw up on the screen the summary tweet encapsulated. We will go over each paragraph of it one by one. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I will pause here for you guys to look and read the tweet yourself, or you can check it out at Pocket Pair's official Twitter to see the expansion, the entirety of what is actually occurring here. So let's start addressing this one point at a time. So first and foremost, regarding the lawsuit changes to Palworld and the future, we would like to express our gratitude and appreciation for the continued support of fans over the past few months. We apologize for not being able to share as much information as we would like, but we trust our fans understand how difficult it is to be fully transparent while litigation is ongoing. That is very true. I'm sure they would be more transparent if they could. And from what they've said already, I don't think we need. And further details would just make us more mad. Like, that's literally. Currently, we remain involved in prolonged legal proceedings regarding alleged patent infringement, which is bullcrap. They have not infringed any patents. We continue to dispute these claims to assert the invalidity of the patents in questions. However, we have had to make certain compromises in order to avoid disruptions to the development and distribution of Palworld. So basically, even though Nintendo has no ground to stand on, They're forcing them into a corner to remove features. Can't have anything like our beloved franchise, even though it's almost better in every way. They're being forced to do this. They have no legal ground to stand on, but they have so much fuck you money that they can basically throw them into a permanent lawsuit if they wanted and basically bankrupt them. And they've done this multiple times with other studios, other games, other companies, other products, and people. Yeah, you guys remember the Yuzu emulator, right? Yeah. Their only ground that they had to show up on was, oh, people are gonna use it to play non-legal games. I mean, the risk is there, sure, but the majority of the fact is they still make their money. And this also allows people to play the games as they were intended because, God forbid, Nintendo make competent hardware and also properly optimize more of their games to actually be playable in a modern standard. This isn't the 90s anymore. This isn't the early 2000s. A stuttery 30 FPS with muddy textures is not okay. And yes, I'm referring to modern Pokemon games. They run like ass. With all the money they have, they can optimize it, and they don't, which incentivizes people to emulate on better hardware for better performance to properly enjoy the game just in its current state, which says nothing about the gameplay mechanics, the story, the implementations of certain game mechanics, the availability of Pokemon, which is still not full. We cannot capture all Pokemon in a single game, including Pokemon Go. And guess what? Legends ZA will be exactly the same. I guarantee it. You still will not be able to import all of your Pokemon into Legends ZA. But anyways, continuing forward. Currently, on November 30th, 2024, we released patched version 0.3.11 for Palworld. This patch removed the ability to summon pals by throwing pal spheres and instead changing it to a static summon next to the player. Look, they could have used any other shape, and Nintendo would have a little less ground to step on, but still, they cannot patent and hold dear creature capture. It's been around even before Pokemon. Like, they're just grasping at any similarity at this point and hoping it sticks, even though it really doesn't matter. They're just gonna lawsuit this to the ground. Several other game mechanics were also changed with this patch. Many have speculated these changes were indeed a result of the ongoing litigation. Yeah, that much was obvious. Everyone here at Pocket Pair was disappointed that this adjustment had to be made, and we fully understand that the players feel the same frustration. Unfortunately, the alternative would have led to an even greater deterioration of the gameplay experience for players. As was determined, this change was necessary. See, here's the problem though. Nintendo's gonna keep going until there's no game left. It doesn't matter that you made these adjustments. You're basically, it feels like we're delaying the inevitable here. Palworld is going to get shut down because they're going to go bankrupt. Nintendo is literally going to force competition to shut down because it's too. It doesn't matter how many. They're going to have to literally remove creatures from the game if Nintendo so chooses. Big bad playground bully is forcing their way onto a smaller studio that can't afford to defend themselves properly. Now, see, the problem is, I'm pretty sure Pocket Pair is stationed in Japan. That's why this is such a bigger problem. They don't have the copyright laws like the United States and other places have. They could simply just not ship the game in Japan, which it's a very small player base in Japan anyways. It's not really enough, I think, to warrant a battle with Nintendo. They could station themselves somewhere else and just continue to have the game because they would have, Nintendo would have zero guard, zero line, zero guard to be this dictator. what's the word I'm looking for? They wouldn't be so dictatorish over this. But still, they're grasping at straws at this point. Like, I really don't think it matters what the changes are. In another 6 months, I feel like Pocket Pair may shut down. Or Palworld will get literally removed from the Steam store. And the populace will have to resort to reverting to hosting private servers / public servers with an older version of Palworld installed for us to fully enjoy the game that as it was meant to be, or side-loaded dev development, not from Pocket Pair, to continue to enjoy this game as it is. That's what I feel like is going to happen. It's ridiculous. Furthermore, we regret to inform our players that with the implementation of patch version 0.5.5, we have to make another compromise from this patch onward. Gliding will be performed using a glider rather than with pals. Pals in the players' team will still provide passive buffs to gliding, but players will now need to have a glider in their inventory in order to glide. Yeah, Nintendo can't do that. Gliding with creatures is in so many video games that they don't have a ground to stand on. You cannot copyright something that's even, like, literally. There have been small historical occurrences where people have actually used animals for gliding. It's literally an IRL function. Monster Hunter does it. Ark Survival Evolved does it. Why aren't they going after those franchises? It makes no sense. They're literally just grasping at straws here and bullying at this point. They're not going to stop until Palworld literally gets the brunt. This sets a dangerous precedence. I really don't think I need to cover the tweet here anymore. As a longtime gamer, supporter of Nintendo, and supporter of Pokemon, but also a supporter of Palworld and the amount of fun I've had over Pokemon games in the last 10 years, this sets a very dangerous precedent. We keep letting Nintendo just walk over any studio they deem as either a threat or too similar to their own franchises. It needs to stop. It genuinely needs to stop. It's a very dangerous precedent. Nintendo has gotten too big for their britches and is now affecting not only game companies, studios, individual people, with emulation and hosting ROM sites and, game. They are the most harmful company to date for game preservation, bar none. Game preservation doesn't hurt them in the slightest, and yet they feel the necessity to get rid of ROM sites for games that they no longer sell themselves? What is the point of that? And it goes one step further, and we're gonna kind of wrap up this video on this point here. I'm gonna throw up an image on the screen from Nintendo's little agreement for either purchasing games or purchasing a Nintendo console. And this will make your blood boil. I will throw it up on the screen now. This is just paraphrased, by the way. This is not the entire agreement, of course, but this is the most important part. Without limitation, you agree that you may not A. Publish, copy, modify, reverse engineer, lease, rent, decompile, disassemble, distribute, offer for sale, or create derivative works of any portion of the Nintendo account services. B. Bypass, modify, decrypt, defeat, tamper with, or otherwise circumvent any of the functions or protections with Nintendo account services, including through the use of any hardware or software that would cause the Nintendo account services to operate other than in accordance with its documentation and intended use. C. Obtain, install, or use any unauthorized copies of Nintendo account services. Or D. Exploit the Nintendo account services in any manner other than to use them in accordance with the applicable documentation and intended use. In each case, without Nintendo's written consent or express authorization, or unless otherwise expressly permitted by applicable law, you acknowledge that if you fail to comply with the foregoing restrictions, Nintendo may render the Nintendo account services and or the applicable Nintendo device permanently unusable in whole or in part. They are telling you what to do with the things you buy. I will start with the small snippet of truth in this entire statement. For account security and device security, to prevent people from either getting scammed or etc. Parts of this have always been a part of agreements for necessary security. This goes far beyond that. They are telling you you cannot hack your device. They are telling you what that you cannot do anything with it other than what they want you to do. That goes far beyond logic. That goes far beyond any amount of okay. If I was unable to hack my Nintendo DS to play games, I would never be able to play games on it because so many games are unavailable for purchase simply because of either availability or cost. Do you know how much older Pokemon games cost? The pricing is ridiculous. Like, could you imagine a world without emulation? And this also affects emulation because, you know, the games are also a part of the Nintendo account services because so many of these games count as a digital download or may only be available as a digital download. So basically they're telling them, no, unless you pay full price for the game and only play it on Nintendo hardware, you simply cannot do it. And that also includes even after the service is discontinued and we no longer update the console. No, this is not okay. This sets so much of a precedence. That is not okay. It is beyond ridiculous. No one should be okay with this. There are certain extents to which they can tell you what to do with your Nintendo account and the services. Like they can ban your Nintendo account for hacking your console. There's a fair argument for that. But to flat out say they will brick your console after you paid money to own it is unacceptable. We need to step up to this. We cannot let Nintendo keep telling us what to do with our games and our hardware beyond necessary security and the protections of their assets. Because I can tell you one thing, emulation does not harm them in one way or another. It is game preservation at its finest. And hey, maybe if they actually optimize their games and their console properly, some of us wouldn't feel the need to emulate in order to get performance that would seem acceptable in 2025. We need to stop being complacent to what Nintendo is doing. The only way that this will get through to them is if we stop buying stuff. Now, the general populace doesn't give a shit about things like this happening in the background. They play ignorant. And will continue to buy Nintendo stuff because, oh, it's so fun, or oh, it's so easy to get into. You're telling them that this is okay. You are telling them that it is okay for them to dig their grubby paws into things you own. Even after they stop servicing it, even after they stop supporting it, you are telling them it's okay, that they can tell you what to do with your property. Public voice and public opinion would definitely help. There needs to be outrage about this. Speak with your wallet. Speak with your mind. Be proper about it. Make excellent points. Nintendo needs to know this is not okay. I mean, they already know it's not okay, but the public needs to tell them it's not okay and that they will not be supported anymore if they keep pulling this crap. I, for one, wrapping up this video, I, for one, am not going to support Nintendo anymore. If you see me playing Nintendo related crap, just know that I didn't pay anything for it. Or, in any regard, I did not give Nintendo money for it. Sail the seven seas if you have to. Buy used if you absolutely have to. Hack your consoles for the sake of game preservation and for owning your own property. But they need to know that this is not okay. They need to know this is not okay. And other people need to know that this is not okay as well. We need this awareness to explode. Well, that's all I have for this video. Sorry for the angry rant, but yeah, share this information with everybody that you know, and we need to start holding Nintendo accountable because this is not okay for the consumer, for businesses, for game studios, for the individual person. None of this will end well if they keep being allowed to do this. Anyways, see you guys in the next video.